April 17th, 2014. This peak in plasma density, guys, is when we started seeing an uptick in the quake activity. Now radial speed is up. You see that peak. Also, the temperature is up as it's increasing. This temperature chart may be more and more important. It says I'm starting to watch it more as related to our volcanoes and the magma rise in places like Yellowstone, because this heat, it's absorbed very fast from the sun but is released very slow, so it's a disproportionate deal. Now superimpose this red arrow over the magnetopause. That's your average. Now you can see we're under pressure from the bombardment we've been getting from the center of the sun. We've watched these flares come off for the last couple of days, and you can see it here. Now look at that. It bent at the top and the bottom. You see what happened? Quakes in the Antarctic, quakes in Alaska. But the science is simple on this. Guys, and these are not strong flares. That's what I'm saying. They're under a lot of pressure. And as you squeeze that middle from both ends, eventually the middle will give, and we've started to see a few quakes in the Japan area. Now that top area is very important. That's the Denali Fault, guys. You saw the video last night about the quakes in Alaska and Yellowstone that started there. Okay, that's where the pressure point comes. Now look, we're doubling up in pressure. Look at that collapse right there, all the way. I mean, almost all the way to the satellite band for the GOES 13, 14, and 15. You see orbiting it. Now we're still getting those waves in. You saw that the temperature and the solar wind speed was increasing, so we're going to watch it through the day. Again, guys, remember, these are small events compared to some we've seen on the sun as far as coronal mass ejections and solar flares. So if that activity really starts bursting right now with strong impacts, we may be in trouble. The earth plates are weak, and we're seeing it even with this compression. Again, this is not minor, and as we take a look at this again, this is Bali Island region. That's the 5.2 and 6.2 aftershock. Then the 5.1 in Talkeetna, Alaska. That is the Denali Fault. That is the one that will trigger Yellowstone and anything in that area. Again, you see where the pressure now in Japan. Small aftershock in the red dot up in Alaska. And here's California. A couple of them there, 2.5. Again, look at the 3.4 in Oklahoma at 5K. Fracking. You guys need to get together and stop that, man. It's not only depleting your water sources, they're pumping out up to 20% of the water available just to frack, and then pump the poison back down in there. This is Idaho, guys. As you can see, it's picked up the quakes in Alaska. Notice the bottom line is still just coming off a shake. Let's go across the nation to Maine. They're seeing the same shake. That was pretty strong. Look at it compared to earlier in the morning. Now let's go up to Alaska. These sensors, each seismograph, you can set the sensitivity, and you can see they're all different. But it's when it moves the Denali quake, it moves a lot, because that's an extremely large mountain range through here, guys. So when that shifts, a lot shifts with it. The earth doesn't sit still. Looking at the sun, today has been relatively quiet. We're still getting growth in the center and small flares, but this filament right here is very loose. Don't know if it's going to hold or not. Again, the sunspots in the middle, there were 4. Basically, the 2 to the right have combined. Check this out. Just small filaments here. We're getting possibly a day's break. We're not through this day. The solar flare chance for X's has went from 5 to 10%. M-class from 50 to 60%. We're seeing an increase in the activity of pressure. Not a big jump like we have seen before. Just steady pressure, guys. Now also, another SDO image, combination of cameras here. You can see we're still getting the burst in the center of the sun. Nothing big, but enough to keep that solar pressure on the earth. You see this? Now, I'm not saying it will, but at any moment you could see a very active flare come from this region. It's just covering too much of the surface of the sun, and if you notice, the magnetic lines from each spot are overlapping and touching the other one. These are all 4 of those are beta gamma. To the right we have an alpha spot that's right there, 2033, but these are all beta gamma, just as they were yesterday. Watching the new 2042 at the top left come in. Again, right here at the plasma density peak, we saw the quakes. Here we're seeing the density or solar wind speed around the Earth increase, and a pretty nice pickup in the temperature, guys. Again, when the temperature increases, I'm going to start watching it closer and closer, as well as we watch plasma density, solar wind speed. We watch the temperature too, but now we could refine that science down to the heat generated here, again transferring into the Earth, causing magma expansion, volcanoes, and earthquakes. Because the quake that we watched in '59 up in Alaska, in Yellowstone, that created the Quake Lake there, guys, that was a geothermal explosion that caused the quake. It didn't create lava and ash, but they reported extremely high winds and trees were being blown down as this earthquake was happening. So as that heat got into the water, that reservoir above the magma, this is what happened. The magma heats up, it heats the water, you create steam, you create an explosion. And some of that pressure that we've seen on the Idaho charts may be having to do with this. So the green line at the bottom may become very important. Also, guys, you've seen the Bundy Ranch deal going on last week. I'm working on a video, and I have a copy, and I'm going to show it to you in the video of what the United Nations plans to do with the United States. The corridors where people are allowed, where they're not going to be allowed. It's amazing. Amazing. But I'm going to try to get as much detail on that, guys, and I'll get it up later this afternoon. Heads up. Be safe.